City TV Vancouver is a proud supporter of Pride. Happening tonight in Vancouver.
We are certainly discouraging people from going out.
Dangerously high temperatures are coming to BC.
Screaming hot, record-breaking.
People are already trying to cool off here in Abbotsford as emergency services prepares for unbearable conditions in the next few days.
Is it a total fluke or a sign of things to come?
This decade, especially, heat waves, droughts, things like that are becoming more frequent.
Is the streak of hot weather we're seeing here in BC a sign of climate change?
If you're wondering what's safe or what's not depending on your COVID-19 vaccination status, when you have to wear one of these and be outside, when you can be inside without one, there's some new guidance to help, but it comes with a healthy dose of caution.
Breaking news from Langley tonight. This large plume of smoke is a house fire near 216th Street and 48th Avenue. But we're also hearing from people in the area that it's actually two houses side by side that are up in flames right now. This is a look from high above the scene in the News 1130 Air Patrol. We have calls out to the Langley Fire Department. We'll bring you more updates as they become available.
We are certainly discouraging people from going out.
Extreme heat is coming to British Columbia. Environment Canada has issued a heat warning for a large section of the province that has health and emergency services bracing to respond to some unbearable temperatures. Highs in Metro Vancouver are expected to range between 29 to 38 degrees over the next few days. It'll be even hotter in the Fraser Valley, with parts of the interior seeing temperatures into the 40s.
Anywhere exposed across the south, you're going to get a little bit more humidity. So I would say Abbotsford, south to the border, and then the farther inland, the humidity will go down. The higher you go up in elevation out toward Hope and beyond, the humidity is going to go down, but the temperatures, they're going to be really high, screaming hot, record-breaking.
At Albert Dick Park in Abbotsford, the temperature hit 30 degrees by Friday morning.
Yeah, it's better than in the house because we don't all have air conditioning and it's too hot in the house.
Well, people are hitting the beach early for a dip into this cool water, but they know that temperatures are rising quickly and their time is limited.
I'd stay here all day, but I have brought other people with me, so they tell me that I have to leave here because we've been here since 10, so they tell me I have to leave at about 1:30.
At lunchtime, usually we're out of here. This is the cue, take off the hat time. Yeah, can't do without a hat. So yeah, I would say 2 hours for sure.
Downtown, you won't see many people on foot. Patios aren't popular out here either. And nearby, a cooling center is opening for the peak hot hours of the day, an initiative from the city, police, and Cedar Outreach Society.
We're concerned, quite frankly, because these are temperatures that we're not used to. A lot of our homeless go deep into wooded, forested areas where they are under the cover of shade and trees, but we know that there's also a transient population.
Fraser Health says prepare for extreme heat this weekend, avoid strenuous activity, and stay in a cool area during the day.
So more severe signs of heat-related illness might include a loss of consciousness, confusion, very hot temperature, hot, dry skin. And if you see someone in those circumstances, that might indicate heat stroke, and you want to call 911.
The overnight lows, that's the big concern. When it gets down to room temperature or above for the low, and that's only for a brief period around dawn, it just doesn't cool off, and it doesn't allow us to cool off, and that's when it becomes a little bit dangerous.
It's the kind of blistering heat that has people giving up on the beach.
Do you have like air conditioning or some tower fans at home you could do to?
Oh yeah, definitely, but I'm gonna be selfish with it and just keep it to myself because it's pretty hot out there.
In Abbotsford, Crystal Adaris, City News.
The Mission School District has announced schools will be closed on Monday due to the extreme heat. They say they're concerned about not having sufficient air conditioning in record-breaking temperatures. They apologize for any inconvenience this may cause and expect schools to reopen on Tuesday.
I think this is a harbinger of the kind of thing to expect more of with time. You can't ever say a heat wave is 100% climate change because weather happens, right? But that extra smidgen of heat on top of what would be a normal heat wave. That's how I like to think of a change in climate.
As BC grapples with record-setting temperatures over the next few days, is this heat wave a one-off or a sign of things to come if we don't change?
It's pretty clear that this is part of the trend that's been projected and expected. And quite frankly, we're seeing around us, this decade especially, heat waves, droughts, things like that are becoming more frequent. We had a big one in 2017.
Dr. Stephen Shepard is with the Faculty of Forestry at UBC. He's been studying climate change for years.
There have been some excellent studies, including regional studies for BC and Metro Vancouver, that project that we're going to see 3 or 4 degrees extra average temperatures, particularly in the summer, over middle of the century and later in the century. And BC is already up over 1 degree on average, and we're warming faster than some other parts of the world.
What's important to take a look at is the patterns and the repetition. So seeing the same thing 3, 4, 5 years in a row, even 10 years in a row, that could actually spell trouble for our world.
I don't know if we've had a stretch this long where we've had warm temperatures overnight and in the daytime too. We're talking about a 4 or 5 day stretch here. We frequently get 3, maybe 4 day stretches with daytime highs in the mid 30s around the area. That's why the records for the Fraser Valley, for example, are in the mid 30s.
As for Weather News 1130 meteorologist Michael Coos thinks this is all tied to climate change.
We have incredibly extreme highs and extreme lows all the time, and we have throughout history. It's when we see a series of these events, that's what signals or indicates that the climate is changing, and this just isn't a one-off event, it's a pattern.
Is there room for improvement in BC's climate change policies?
They're a little slower than we would like, that the scientists would like. It's, we've known about climate change for 20 or 30 years, but BC has been a leader, and many of the communities themselves are taking this very seriously.
He says it's important individuals take action.
I think they should talk to their community centers, talk to their libraries, talk to their local politicians, and find out what programs are going on. What can I join up and do? And I think we need a lot more of that.
In Vancouver, Rhea Renouf, City News.
The court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months. That's 270.
Derek Chauvin sentenced for George Floyd's murder. Why this is not the final chapter in the high-profile case.
There are 72 new cases of COVID-19 across the province tonight, and 2 more people have died from the virus in the last day. 108 people are currently in hospital. 37 of those are in intensive care. 77.6% of all adults in BC have had their first dose, and 26.9% of all adults have had both shots. BC is scheduled to move into phase 3 of its official restart plan on Thursday, July 1st. More information on that is expected early next week.
If you've been vaccinated for COVID-19 with 1 dose, maybe 2, you might be wondering, what does this mean I can do now? When do I have to be outdoors wearing this? And when can I head indoors and take it off? There's some new guidance that can help. This chart from Canada's top doctor looks at if you're fully, partially, or unvaccinated and ranks different settings for when it's safe to do away with masks and distancing. Only small outdoor gatherings get the go-ahead for everyone, increasing cautions with indoor settings and large groups. The BC doctor who's been on the front lines of promoting vaccinations with This Is Our Shot says general guidance can't make your personal decisions.
When it comes to your own life, who you're inviting into your life, who you're inviting into your home, and what their personal risk factors are and what your personal risk factors are, there are limitations in what general guidance can do.
There is a COVID risk calculator online that helps assess specific circumstances. It asks 21 questions. I tried a mostly vaccinated group indoors talking and eating for an hour, a moderate risk. The same gathering of unvaccinated people, a high risk.
I think that's why we have to really look at this not as a all or nothing scenario. There is be cautious, invite people in slowly. But when you do, if you're fully vaccinated, you can take off the masks if they're fully vaccinated and you both are.
With temperatures soaring this weekend, many won't want to be outside, instead beating the heat by heading indoors.
Balancing that with the risk of COVID, which while we're doing great, it's not gone.
Indoors carries the same risk whether hot or cold outside. And even with all the charts, risk calculators, protocols, and protections, the COVID-19 risk calculation remains very personal.
My second dose was January 31st, and I still haven't gone inside my parents' house.
For City News in Victoria, I'm News 1130's Lisa Yuzda.
If we just keep allowing it to happen, we continue to perpetuate misogyny and sexism.
The owner of several Metro Vancouver restaurants and pubs has removed the name of a cocktail from its menus after a customer complained, saying the name was offensive to women.
Just in time for the weekend, gas prices are nearing record-breaking territory. The price for a liter of regular sits at $1.70.9 at a lot of stations across Metro Vancouver right now. But we are hearing there are a few places that have lower prices. The all-time record price for this region is $1.72.9, and that was set back in May of 2019. Walk-on passengers using BC Ferries can now ensure they've got a spot on a boat. BC Ferries will now take reservations for foot passengers for trips from Tsawwassen, Swartz Bay, Duke Point, Horseshoe Bay, and Departure Bay. You can book online and then redeem your ticket at a self-serve kiosk or ticket agent. For now, BC Ferries is limiting the number of reservations, so it doesn't mean the trip is sold out if there's no walk-on tickets available. WestJet is bringing back more pre-COVID flights, both within to and from BC. As travel restrictions are relaxed, the airline says it's ready for people who are eager to fly once again. That includes restarting 8 routes across Western Canada and into Ontario that had been paused during the pandemic, and starting 10 new ones by July 5th. Within BC, it's Vancouver-Cranbrook. Flights are resuming as of today, as are flights from Abbotsford to Prince George.
We are there to be a partner in whatever is needed.
There is not the commitment to action behind the words.
Justin Trudeau under increasing pressure to launch an independent investigation into residential schools.
I thought that it wasn't right, and I was surprised and shocked.
You'll no longer find a cocktail on the menus of several Metro Vancouver pubs after a customer found the name offensive to women. While Redheaded Slut is a popular American drink made with Jägermeister, peach-flavored schnapps, and cranberry juice, when Angela Wolf saw it listed on the menu of a Port Moody pub on Father's Day, she was taken aback.
Name of this derogatory drink is, makes it seem as though women are less than men. It's, misogynistic, and it's sexist. It's both of those.
Wolf complained on the Facebook page of the pub Livelihood, which is owned by Joseph Richard Group. When News 1130 reached out to the company, it quickly pulled the drink, as well as others that could potentially offend, off the menus at 9 of its restaurants, including Livelihood, and apologized.
We all feel badly if anybody is offended in coming to any of our locations. We want people to feel welcome and included. When it comes to the shot list, it was also up for discussion and something that was going to be put on an agenda to be discussed. And this now being brought to our attention that it actually has offended somebody is very, it's disappointing.
While Wolf's Facebook complaint drew comments from some who suggested the name is just a name, she argues that mentality is how sexism and misogyny work.
People just brush it off as no big deal. But in fact, if we just keep allowing it to happen, we continue to perpetuate misogyny and sexism. And so the only way to get rid of it is to call it out and fix it.
Mona Gleason, an educational studies professor at UBC whose expertise includes the history of gender, agrees, saying the name of things matter as they connect to the way we think about people.
It could be considered particularly problematic when these kind of almost jokey kind of names for drinks really tap into something that's a little bit more serious, right? Which is gender inequalities between men and women, the relationship between alcohol and, sexual abuse.
For City News in Vancouver, I'm News 1130's Monica Gould.
We met families from Quebec City, from Trois-Rivières, from Manawan, coming down to downtown Montreal because it is the place to be to celebrate the Habs.
Habs fans party like it's 1993. Montrealers excited and dreaming of a Stanley Cup championship.
We are there to be a partner in whatever is needed to find the full truth and ensure reconciliation is possible.
Justin Trudeau says his government is here for Indigenous people and committed to unearthing the truth of residential schools, but he won't commit to an independent investigation with subpoena power.
We will continue to be there to support the communities in their needs as they grieve, as they work through this, as they get the understanding and knowledge they need in order to heal. We will keep putting Indigenous peoples and their wishes at the center of everything we do.
Literally, out of one side of his mouth, we're here for you. Out of the other side of his mouth, they're fighting First Nations residential school survivors in court, not wanting to release documents. How is that there for us?
Mi'kmaq scholar and attorney Pam Palmater says she's not impressed with vague promises of support. After the Kamloops discovery of 215 unmarked graves, United Nations observers called for an independent investigation into residential schools, a call repeated by former Senator Murray Sinclair. Sinclair, who chaired the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, says an investigation must have the legal power to subpoena documents the Canadian government or Catholic Church have not shared.
The more we wait on this, debate on this, see if, maybe we have to wait until after the election, or maybe we have to wait until someone convenes. Documents could be destroyed as we're speaking. So the legal proceedings need to start ASAP.
Palmater believes the Boston sex abuse scandal showed the Catholic Church is not afraid to hide or even destroy documentary evidence. The missionary of Oblates of Mary Immaculate now says it's prepared to release residential school records, but that order only operated 48 of 130 residential schools, including those at Kamloops and Cowasis. Palmater says if Canadians are serious about truth and reconciliation, they should make it a ballot box issue.
Every single political party that runs in this next federal election better have a detailed, costed out plan for how they're going to deal with all of these issues, and not just say, well, this is a plan for the middle class, or this is a plan for industry, or, if everything isn't centered on Indigenous peoples this election, then that is not the party for us.
In Ottawa, Shaoli Lee, City News.
Mr. Chauvin. As to count one, based on the verdict of the jury finding you guilty, the court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months. That's 270.
Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin sentenced Friday in the murder of George Floyd.
George's life mattered. The heartbreak and hurt goes far beyond any number of tears we could ever cry. What was going through your head when you had your knee on my brother's neck?
Floyd's family sharing victim impact statements 13 months to the day since Floyd, an unarmed black man, was killed during an arrest, caught on cell phone video seen around the world. It showed Chauvin, a white officer, pressing his knee into Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes. The case triggering global outrage over racism and police brutality.
Your Honor, we have 4 victim impact statements. We will start with the 7-year-old daughter of George Floyd, Gianna Floyd, who will present hers by video.
I ask about him all the time. My daddy always used to help me brush my teeth.
Oh. Do you miss him helping brush your teeth?
Yes.
In April, Chauvin was convicted of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder,
and second-degree manslaughter.
I am the mother of Derek Chauvin. I have always supported him 100% and always will.
Prosecutors had asked for a 30-year sentence. Chauvin's attorney sought probation.
I do want to give my condolences to the Floyd family.
But most importantly, we need to recognize the pain of the Floyd family. This is based on your abuse of a position of trust and authority, and also the particular cruelty shown to George Floyd.
Just hours ahead of the sentencing, Chauvin's request for a new trial was rejected by the judge in the case, Peter Cahill. He explained in part the defense failed to prove that Chauvin was denied his right to a fair trial. This is not the final chapter. Chauvin still facing trial on federal civil rights charges. And the 3 other since fired officers involved in Floyd's arrest, they're set to face trial next year on charges of aiding and abetting Floyd's murder. Melissa Duggan, City News.
I'm going to leave my letter behind, and hopefully there'll be a letter for me to take with me.
A unique project in New Westminster is connecting the community during a time of disconnect.
Of course, I lost my voice since I've been screaming all day, all night. But I've been always supported Canadian team since I came to Canada.
The Habs have advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals, and Montreal is partying like it's 1993. The excitement has given the city a much-needed post-COVID-19 boost in morale.
So I'm a Habs fan, but I live in Toronto now. So it's a little bit difficult for my Toronto friends right now. They're not very happy. But for me, who's been supporting the Habs for a long time, I'm very, very excited that this is happening.
Habs fever is definitely bringing people back to the downtown core of Montreal. Around 5,000 people were standing outside of the Bell Centre Thursday night to watch the Habs defeat the Vegas Golden Knights. And they're not all from Montreal. The Montreal Canadiens are bringing tourists back to the city just in time for summer.
We met families from Quebec City, from Trois-Rivières, from Manawan, coming down to downtown Montreal because it is the place to be to celebrate the Habs. And speaking with my colleagues from other cities around Canada, I was with the executive directors of downtown Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Toronto, all saying that they're expected to come to Montreal because we are the only Canadian team making it to the finals.
Montreal police says they started preparing for Thursday night the minute the Habs won Game 5 in Vegas. The area around the Bell Centre was buzzing more than 2 hours before face-off. In the aftermath of the Habs winning goal, officers were on the scene to disperse rowdy crowds.
We can never say that we're 100% ready. What we do is we plan for the worst, we plan different scenarios, and we deploy the sufficient number of police officers, first off, to be visible and be able to deter all these infractions.
For many fans, seeing the Habs in the finals is a lifelong dream coming true.
Everybody's waiting for number 25. The drive for 25 has been long, but this year, They've pulled together and played well as a team, and it's just great to watch the hockey. I mean, it's great hockey.
It was incredible. Everyone was so excited, and when they went into the fourth period, it was crazy, honestly, like something else.
It's incredible. It's actually amazing because now they're going to finals, and it's been the first time since 1993. It's incredible. Carey Price, Cole Caulfield, many other players, wow, just amazing.
No, we came down 10-hour drive there from Ontario, and we watched a game at a bar and came down for the Bell Centre right after for the overtime. And
for the chaos?
Yeah, and it was amazing. A lifetime dream.
Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals will be played on Monday evening. In Montreal, Melina Jubilaro, City News.
Some breaking news for you happening right now. A large group of people currently moving very slowly over the northbound lanes of the Cambie Bridge, heading into downtown. No traffic is getting by at this moment through the southbound lanes, though the southbound lanes remain clear. We'll keep an eye on the situation, of course, and give you more information as it becomes available. Feeling a little lonely? Well, how about a little spark of joy from a stranger? A unique project out of New Westminster is asking the community to go back to the often forgotten art of letter writing.
I'm going to leave my letter behind, and hopefully there'll be a letter for me to take with me.
Monique Stanley Davey is the artist behind the project. All you have to do is put pen to paper and write whatever comes to you. Then you seal it in an envelope and exchange it at the mailboxes located along the Quayside Boardwalk for another one written by a stranger. Davey says the idea came out of her desire to find connection during the pandemic.
Actually relocated to New Westminster from Ontario. I came to study creative writing and kind of go on a writing hiatus. However, with the pandemic, I became extremely isolated, and so I wanted to create a platform where other people can express and connect with other people in the community through writing.
It's just a really cute way to talk to strangers, like even not during COVID times, you know?
That's nice. Yeah, good idea. I think it's a great way to bring back communication and not by being together. I think, COVID has taught us that we can still have relationships by being apart. And letter writing is something that is a skill.
Davey has even set up an Instagram page for people to share the letters they've received via the hashtag NW Letter Exchange.
I wrote the first set of letters so that way the community had letters to exchange, and I also bring down letters every so often when I want to share with the community.
People are also encouraged to get creative with the project and add homemade crafts to their letters as well. The mailboxes were put up earlier this month, and the city says it's planning to keep the exchange going permanently.
It's been honestly really good. My goal was to impact at least one person, and I have exceeded that goal, so I'm very thankful.
In New Westminster, Ashley Burr, City News.
It's been hot today, but the extreme heat really sets up for the weekend and early next week, where daytime highs are going to be up there in at least mid, potentially upper 30s with humidex readings in the 40s. Even close to the coast, it's getting close to 30 degrees, and we will set records at least over the next 3, potentially 4 days. Take a look at the circulation. You can see that clockwise rotation around an area of high pressure to the west of Vancouver Island. That is just very slowly going to track across the area. Jet stream well to the north, and that's where that arch of cloud cover is. This impulse of warm air slides all the way up from the south, and you can see it here. Hardly a cloud in the sky through the day on Saturday across the entire province, with all the cloud offshore, Alaskan Panhandle, Yukon, Northwest Territories. That ridge stretches across the eastern prairies by the tail end of the weekend. Through the day on Saturday, and it's the coolest of the bunch over the next 3, 35, feeling close to 40. I have a field temperature in at 38. Even along the coast, you get a bit of a break at 27 degrees. 36 is the max temperature on Sunday, 37 on Monday. These are conservative readings and all records as we move through that period away from the shore. Shoreside temperatures getting up to 29 degrees on Monday, backs off just a touch on Tuesday, and back to well above seasonal but reasonable temperatures by the tail end of next week. That's a check on your forecast.
City News Weather is brought to you by kits.ca. Open your eyes. In 1 minute on City News.
Canadian citizens may be affected in the devastating building collapse in Miami. The update from Global Affairs Canada during the round-the-clock search for survivors.
This is City News Everywhere.